Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. I wanted to do this little video commemorating that it's been 2 years since the 2017 Power Rangers movie. It's obvious I wanted to do it around the day, closer to, but things got kind of busy with other reviews from like, Resoldier and Beast Morphers stuff, so I kept having to push it. So I'm a little bit late on wanting to do it. Also, shout out to my good buddy Willie Jaco, who inspired me to do this video because I didn't think about it until I saw his video. And the video is almost gonna be the same because I watched his video. I was like, damn bro, why'd you have to steal my video? Because he was saying exactly what I was thinking I was gonna say. And let's hope that by showing this image of him, he doesn't copyright claim me for showing his image. Classic Willie Jaco Incorporated mess around. So yeah, it's been 2 years since the Power Rangers movie. And I think that it got a mostly, from my perspective, from what I saw, got a mostly positive outlook. I think I saw mostly positive responses, somewhere in the middle where it was like positive but they wish there was more action, and then there are people that did outright hate it because it wasn't Power Rangers. I don't know, like I don't like that saying like, oh this isn't Power Rangers, or like, because I feel like there isn't a should be or is supposed to be for any of that stuff. I think it's just a different style. But I personally really liked the movie a lot. As I'm going to mention this a lot of times, but as Will said in his video, I think at the time it was like the perfect storm for what we needed. Because like at the time, I had had it with what was happening with Power Rangers, with the show, with the quality. It felt like we were stuck in purgatory. And outside of the comics, which were still, again, he said this in his video, but I was thinking the same thing, that we weren't even at Shattered Grid yet. Like the comics were definitely, even before Shattered Grid, the comics were good. Like Shattered Grid gets all the attention, but even the early issues just about the characters were very good. But I mean, other than that, it was still just starting out, and I think it was before the comics was like a big thing people really talked about. So it was just like this huge purgatory drought, and we were just kind of starved for actual quality Power Rangers content. And I think a lot of that stemmed from the poor character writing in the show. The characters didn't feel like real people. They felt like they were just mouthpieces for morals and cartoons. And I feel the Power Rangers movie gave us actual, relatable, grounded characters that felt like they could be real people. I believed them individually. I believed them as a group. And that's what I was looking for, which is why, I mean, I definitely could argue there could have been more action because it was all about building up to the morph. A lot of people didn't like that. Again, personally, since, I was starved for I'm starved for attention, starved for like actual characters, the fact that most of the movie was about the characters and that, I just loved. And I really, like, that was my favorite part of the movie, was the first bits of it and seeing them train and bond and stuff. And sure, it was cool to finally get them suit up, but I wasn't about that at the time. I definitely think they could have structured it differently. Like, maybe they could have had them be able to morph, but they couldn't access the full power and synergy until the end, so that's why they were training. So you could get some mini action sequences, or maybe they could morph the whole time and it was about getting the Megazord right, and that's why they needed to build the connection. So I think they could have gone for the same thing with a little more action, but again, at the time it didn't bother me too much because, again, there could have been a sequel and then that could have had more action because you already built up to it, and I appreciated the more character-driven stuff, so it didn't bother me too much. There was also a lot of talk about the suits. People didn't really like them. I wouldn't say they're top 10, but I really dug the idea of what they went for with these suits, with the sort of alien aesthetic and sort of having some similarities to the MMPR suits, but not really. They were very different as well. And like, I really liked the approach they took for the story in general. It's actually, I mean, not exactly I didn't call it or anything, but it was kind of what I talked about in my initial reaction video to the announcement of a movie, was what I wanted is they obviously would go sort of for MMPR, for that familiarity marketing, but they ended up taking like the core outline of MMPR and then just making it very different. So even though it was MMPR, it also wasn't. And I liked that. Like, it was very different. It took a very interesting twist on a lot of established details. Like, Rita being the original Green Ranger was super cool. Zordon being the original Red, super cool. I would love to learn more about the lore of that world. I liked the way they basically, I think it was a smart move to take the bones of MMPR to sort of inspire the nostalgia marketing, but color it in different so it felt like just something Power Rangers, and I like that they called it Power Rangers and not Mighty Morphin. So like, I liked the designs at the end of the day. I wish we could have seen more of them. and see possible sequels. Now, will there be a sequel? There's been a lot of talk about that based on every report we hear about. Hasbro basically has had 15 million reports about it. That's not exactly accurate, but you know, that they're going to be doing movies, that they want to do movies, they're in talks. Whether or not it would happen or not, they're interested in it. We know that, and like every article I feel, you get a different lean from the fandom, like, oh, they're going to do a sequel, they're not going to do a sequel. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. We've been so surprised by so many Power Rangers announcements recently. Like, again, we got Hasbro owning it, and we have Beast Morphers, which I'll talk about in a second, which is the Go Busters suits. And I never would have guessed that in a million years. I still remember when I first saw it on my Twitter feed, I did like a literal cartoon double take. So I don't want to rule anything out, but I think it's a little bit less likely now. I think given how much time's passed, it would probably make the most logical sense for Hasbro to start over, just in terms of, you know, wanting to not only make their own stamp on it, but it makes sense to start from scratch without any baggage and having anyone feel like they need to watch the previous movie. Would I like to see a sequel? Absolutely. I think that would be great. I think it's a little bit more likely we'll see a bit of a reboot, but it would be cool to see like a requel where it's a bit of a reboot and sequel at the same time, so it could stand on its own, but this is part of it. Like, I don't know, we'll see. I just think it's a little bit less likely. As Will said in his video, I would love to see it explored in comics because I was really interested in the differences in the lore, especially since they made a big deal about the Zeo Crystal. I could totally see them doing a trilogy where you had like the second movie maybe be like Green and White Ranger and then the third one being Zeo somehow. I remember there was a report once that Saban had stated he wanted 5 movies, so who knows, maybe they were going to do the entire Zordon era or something similar to it, or maybe they would have branched out on their own thing. But the point is, I think it would be really cool for a comic. Maybe if it was like a one-off Soul of the Dragon type, just one-off paperback, or maybe like a multiple part series, like a little mini series. It's like 5 issues. I think it would be cool. I don't think it would happen, but I think it would be super neat, especially if they go the reboot direction and just totally do a new thing. Maybe a little mini series. That could be cool, like on a streaming service somewhere, like on Hulu, like a 5-part miniseries or 10-part one-shot season that just kind of would go over what maybe they would have done. I highly doubt that would happen, but it would be a cool idea. Just because even though I'd love to explore the lore, I would prefer to see it with the actual actors and like the suits and stuff in action as opposed. Not that I don't like comics, but having already seen the movie, I'd like to see more of that. It's crazy where we are now in terms of the franchise. Like, I remember before the movie came out, there was a lot of people saying, like, oh, this is right before everything changes, you know, the movie's gonna be a big deal. That's what I thought too. I thought that, not maybe on the level of Transformers, but I thought it could be where it opened up new doors of fandom and new perspectives and stuff like that, and I thought it would grow the audience, and it ended up kind of flopping. I mean, it didn't do terribly awful, but it just kind of faded into the background, even in terms of the fandom. I mean, I loved this movie. I like this movie a lot. I only saw it the once when it came out. I have not rewatched it yet. I have no idea why. I've rewatched The Office 15 times since then. I've seen Spider-Man Homecoming at least a dozen times. I loved the movie, don't know why I haven't rewatched it. But I feel it just faded away. It had a lot of bad things about the marketing. It's like they never marketed it, and then when they marketed it, they did it all in the short amount of time where it felt like every other ad I was seeing was for it. Then it came out, and then it just kind of faded away. So it kind of, and then the toys weren't that great, so it had a lot working against it. But people thought this was going to be the turning point of this is the change. I think that's what Saban thought as well. Came out, faded away. I think then we were all prepared to just serve our sentence in purgatory of this season, super season, this season, super season, just going through the monotony. I would have never guessed that, I mean, I would have guessed one of two things. It would have changed everything and we got a whole bunch of more fans. Things would have stayed the same. I never would have guessed that it would have basically flopped and then Hasbro would have bought it. And then that's the new potential hope. So, you know, who knows how that could go. But I think it's, you know, more hopeful than we've had in a long time. And after the movie, I never would have guessed, like, oh, what's your projection? Oh, what's your projection, Mr. Dawson, of what's going to happen? I never would have guessed that an entirely different company would own this franchise, entirely different company doing the toys, entirely different possibilities from all aspects. And I think that that sort of Transformers level success, I don't think it would ever get to that, personally. I think Power Rangers, I think this movie taught me that Power Rangers, I don't think personally will ever have the level of something like the Avengers or Transformers even, in terms of that. But I think under Hasbro, given that they've done it multiple times, I think when they do a movie compiled with other things, we could see more of a boost like we were expecting from this movie. But I just don't think we'll ever see it. I don't think we're ever going to break past that 90s or bust scenario for most of the people. But I think under Hasbro we have potential for that growth like we wanted to see, but I don't think it's going to be on that level. But anyway, I just wanted to make a quick video to commemorate it because I did like the movie so much. I should probably go rewatch it right now, but I think Parks and Rec's about to come on. So real quick here at the end, I get a lot of questions about this shirt. It is a PR movie shirt. It says it under the tag. I'm not going to show you that. You don't want to see my neck cleavage. I don't know where I got it because I didn't get it. It was a gift from my parents because the movie came out around my birthday and they gave it to me then. I'm going to assume like a Target or a Hot Topic. Just Google like Power Rangers movie long sleeve shirt, so I can't help you on that one. The Beast Morphers hoodie is a Morphicon hoodie though, so I've said that multiple times. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring the bell to get notifications for all my videos. Until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.